Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Duke of Gaming, the first and last episode 42. I'm your host, Thomas, the Duke of Anime. It's good to be here this week with my fellow Dukes of Gaming. First and foremost, we have the Duke of Design. How are you, Ben?
Oh, you picked me first. You never picked me first. I was not prepared.
Oh man, we're changing that. You're first every time.
Oh no, God!
Every single time.
Such an innocent response there.
Oh man,
How are you?
I'm doing great. Very stoked for the release of The Witch Queen on Tuesday. As you guys know, it's my first release on that I worked on Destiny. So I'm super pumped. Also pumped about some other games coming out this week. Can't wait to talk about them.
Excellent. I'm happy for you, and I'm happy to play the Witch Queen. So it's gonna be a good week. And of course, we have the Duke of Nostalgia. How are you doing, Taylor?
My tummy hurts. My tummy wummy hurts.
Oh.
I'm okay. I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
All right, that's good. That's good. Tell us why your stomach.
Yeah,
hurts.
dude.
My
give us
stomach is
context.
hurting because I ate some bad cow tongue. So,
Been there.
You know,
It's always the cow tongue, y'all.
we've all been there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hey,
Glad you're here with us. Hope your stomach feels better. Okay.
thank you. If I run away from the screen for a second, it's only because like I got my mail showed up. You know. So
And joining us also, and he just disappeared.
He refuses.
not me.
In a
Not
poop
today.
of smoke like a friggin' ninja.
He's back.
No, joining us, we have a Duke who doesn't have a stomach ache, but a little bit of a headache. We have the Duke of Rocket League.
Well, it's eye strain from playing 10 hours of Horizon in 2 days.
Oh man, we're gonna get to it.
Yeah. So we are in the center of the best 2 weeks of gaming this year, with the releases of Horizon and what else do we have? Oh, Cyberpunk this week, and then looking forward to Witch Queen and Elden Ring. So
triangle strategy, of course.
So this may be the best week of gaming because we have the hype of next week and we're enjoying the past week. And also, shout out to Matt because he is always here, ready to rock and roll.
Shouts out
Matt.
Matt.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Matt.
Shouts out Matt. If we had the little DJ sound booth, we do the little, you know. And I want to introduce you, Alfredo, but when's Triangle Strategy come out?
Right, the week right after Elden Ring, I believe.
God,
Yeah.
we're in the eye of a hurricane.
God,
That, and of course, that is Alfredo, the Duke
Yeah.
of Education.
Hello, it's me. I'm very stressed because week after week I have to spend $60, and I'm gonna be crying when I read my bank statement. But you know,
In some cases, $70.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
are there
worse.
any games that are 70?
Horizon on PS5.
Horizon, yeah, but I got the cheat code for Horizon by getting the PS4 version, then
the
upgrade
cheat
to
code.
for free.
Buy
Yeah.
games at Walmart. They're $10 cheaper at Walmart all the time because they buy.
I
Yeah, he's
have
right.
to support
He's
GameStop.
absolutely right.
Okay, they give you a $5
Do
coupon.
you?
They give you a $5 coupon. So
All right.
How else is Alfredo going to pump up the stock price if he doesn't support GameStop?
Exactly. I gotta support physical media, and GameStop is the only one who is doing it. So gotta support them.
Yeah, buy NFT from GameStop too. They're giving those away too.
Just let me know when it's available. I'm ready.
Soon. Now, of course, we have to start our show with the age-old gamer question. What have we been playing this week? Now, there's a lot that we've been playing in conjunction, but I kind of want to get to some stuff that we've been playing just before we get to the main stuff. So I'll start just real quick. Cole said I should play this game. I put it off. I was like, let me get my paycheck. I feel better. I got my paycheck and I purchased Walkabout Mini Golf.
yes.
And oh my God. Cole,
Was I not kidding? Like you
Now,
how
there's
surprised were you? This
So,
putt game is so good.
there is a show that I don't think comes on anymore, but it came on while I was like in a really good time of my life. And it's called the name of the show is it's like a mini golf show.
A
it was
mini golf show? What?
Yeah, and it was starring Steph Curry. Steph Curry was like the main.
What?
He was like,
What is this?
Who's the
Oh,
demographic
man.
of this show?
oh man, it's gonna blow me what the name of the show is. But he was like the main. He wasn't like the MC, but he was like the main like mascot of the show. And it would be these people doing mini golf on these crazy courses. And so I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. And then this game comes along and kind of is that. I'm like, oh man. So yeah, I put about maybe 20, 30 minutes into it. Couldn't really put much more time into it, but what I played, I'm like, okay, this is going to be something I play at minimum once a week.
Wait. Okay, I have 2 questions. One, is this better than Wii Sports Golf? And 2, is this game basically like have you guys ever been to indoor mini golf where they literally have like little gimmicks? Oh, you got to put the ball over like 5 different logs and then get in like this rocket launcher or whatever. Is it like that?
There's some stuff, some courses like that, but for the most part, it's really putt. Like the first few levels are like literally you're at like a pirate themed putt course.
Okay.
Like you're at a tourist trap. It's called tourist trap.
Sweet.
But what makes it so good is the physics are perfect. Like you literally feel like the vibration when you hit the ball feels top notch, and like the frame rate, the way everything runs, the audio, like it's so immersive. It's kind of like Rec Room, not Rec Room. I'm sorry, Alt
cool.
Space, because how you communicate and you talk. Did you build your avatar and everything too?
Yeah. It is really intuitive, and like you said, the rumble. It's the best I've felt in a Quest game so far.
Yeah. And the way the ball comes off the putter, which I'm not a golf player at all, but it feels exactly how you would expect it to feel if you were playing putt. You feel like it's so subtle. It's so subtle. Like it's not like this Wii game where you let go and it kind of sucks it to the hole, you know.
Yeah.
It's legit. Like you miss putts and they lip out and everything, and it's great. It is. I can't believe how good it is.
It's excellent. And the show I was thinking of, Holy Moly. And
that's what it's called.
And yes, it's called Holy Moly. And the main person that hosts it was Rob Riggle. And if anybody knows Rob Riggle, he's hilarious. he's always in like those Will Ferrell movies.
Was he in the Wiggles?
The Wiggles?
Yeah.
Never heard. Is that a
You've
show?
never heard of the Wiggles?
Oh,
you've heard of
Rob
Holy
Riggle.
Moly?
Yeah, good point.
Holy moly.
The Wiggles?
Yes.
I never heard of this.
Nick Jr. classic, The Wiggles. How dare you?
Come on.
I think I do remember that. I remember that show being trash, but
it's a conversation. It's a baby show.
Yeah, that's like Out of the Box. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Yeah, I remember Out of the Box. That was
it's
a great show.
Junior Out of the Box, like it's the baby version of that. But I digress.
Oh man. So yeah, that's the other game. Was there any other games that we've been playing besides our core 3 games we want to talk about? Going once, going twice, and we are on to our first game, which is Destiny 2. Now, who's been playing Destiny 2 here?
I'm always playing Destiny 2. Let's be honest.
And I've been playing Destiny 2. I think I put like 1 hour in this week because it's just been a busy week.
So we got to give credit to Ben because he turned us back onto this game. But not for him, none of us would have been playing this game right now. And I feel like we would be missing out because the game is so good. But we definitely had to have that Sherpa. And I will say the apprentice has become the master because now Thomas is now learning some bin tricks and he's teaching me some things every time I get on Destiny.
I showed you how to upgrade your weapon and everything.
Yeah. And he was like, man, I feel like Ben. He was going around pointing me out where everything was.
I think I did say that. After like an hour, I was like, hey, I feel like Ben right now.
you gotta walk the new lights through the experience. Is the best way to do it.
Absolutely. I don't know how to do that.
It feels amazing to actually know what's going on relatively.
Story-wise? Or like game mechanics?
Never story-wise for me. I still don't know what's going on. But game mechanic-wise and how to like feel good in the game.
Yeah. How to approach what to do. And how to follow quest lines and stuff, which is quite tough when you're new.
Mm-hmm.
But Ben, you want to tell the story of what we did? What me and Alfredo did?
Well, we jumped into another dungeon. It was funny because
my first dungeon.
Yeah, dungeons are higher level content in Destiny 2. So
Tell them how long it took, Ben, for
oh
my
God.
first dungeon. You thought it would be a good idea for a 3-hour dungeon.
Yeah, it took us almost 3 hours to get through this dungeon.
Jeez.
2 hours and 45 minutes, which is
Alfredo,
a
it
lot
could've-
longer than it should have
could have been
taken.
worse. It could have been worse, Alfredo. It could have been
Hey.
that Sea of Thieves. Like, I
That's
don't even want
true,
to know
that's true.
how many hours we spent on that time of Sea of
I had a lot of
It
fun.
was very comparable. It was very comparable. But I will say the dungeon, this was more fun because, like, I don't know, it was just incredible.
The game mechanics
Like,
worked.
Yeah, we almost gave up, and we pushed
Yes,
through.
we did.
Like one time, and then we pushed through again, and we got on that last time. And I don't know how many times we had, like, all of us were dead except one, and then we
Yeah.
revived, then the other one revived all of us, and
At least like 5 times.
But like worst thing, like on our run where we beat the boss, my microphone went out 15 minutes from the end. So I was
Yup.
like pacing around the room, standing up, playing, popping it in, and like during little breaks, trying to fix my mic and everything. It was pretty important to have
And
that
communication
mic.
is very important in this type of content in raids and dungeons. So like having your mic go out 15 minutes from the end when we're already getting so close to dying
Yup.
from the boss, and it's like past midnight. So we all said, like, okay, this is our last chance.
One
at the
more
boss.
time.
Yeah, we're gonna one more time, and it's taken us. We had to go through like 4 or 5 damage phases because we just could not get damage on the boss for the first couple. So yeah, it was
It was
quite
past
drawn out.
midnight for
Yeah.
binge time. For me and Alfredo, it was after 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
we were playing this game
Jeez.
a long time.
Oh
I
my-
will say though, I was pleasantly surprised because I'm somebody who doesn't play FPSs except for Overwatch. That's the only one I'll do. Anything else, I won't really play. So I was a little bit hesitant about getting into Destiny just because I've tried to before and it just has such a, I'd say, convoluted starting process, like a steep learning curve just to figure out where to go and all of that. But having been there was invaluable because he can pretty much guide us there. But in the actual dungeon, I was pleasantly surprised at how complex the dungeon was. Like, it's not just, oh, you're shooting, just headshot, quick scope. Like, it's not about just doing that. Every encounter is kind of like a puzzle, which is kind of fun to it. Like, it's not like Lara Croft puzzling or like something like the Witness puzzle, but it's more like, oh, you have to stand here specifically in order for this to happen while killing these certain enemies, and then this will trigger a chain reaction, which means you have to figure out how to do things efficiently and smartly without dying. Like, it's a really smart
It is.
shooter,
It's amazing.
which I feel like is really underrated. At least I've never seen them in the stereotypical games like Call of Duty and Quake, all of those things. But yeah, it was super fun, even though it took 3 hours.
And it gives that communication element to it, where we all have to be on the same page. And if you're not all on the same page, you're just straight up not going to beat it. You know, same thing. Same way for the raid too. In the raid, it's even harder. I feel like because there's 6 people that got to be in conjunction.
Yeah,
It's
when you drop off comms, me and Ben were still able to communicate and be like, okay, Cole's got me. He's here. Or like, Cole, can you get us? No answer. But between us, and we were already at the end of the content, so it was fine. We figured it out. But yeah, it was honestly so much more fun than I thought it was going to be. Just because I'm still scarred about that Sea of Thieves dungeon we did.
Oh my
Oh, God.
god. That was fun too. That was fun in a different way.
It was fun. It was,
Yeah.
but it was also kind of frustrating. This one wasn't frustrating. It was more like everything was our fault instead of us trying to fight the
Well,
game.
and the combat is good. When you're playing Sea of Thieves, like the combat is terrible. And you just it's more monotonous and you're just ready. Oh, when's this going to end? When's this going to end? I was enjoying the challenge, but for it being 2:00 in the morning. But anyway,
And we've added a new Duke to our Destiny's clan. We have clans coming in
next week. Coming in hot.
coming in hot, Jinx.
right
Man,
in
that's-
time for the Witch Queen.
Right, and that is going to be a challenge. that's truly when this like gaming hurricane is going to really ramp up. Because Witch Queen drops, and then we're 3 days away from Elden Ring.
Hey, I want to give a quick shout out. We're thanking this Ben, but I want to thank a different Ben. Ben from the coffee shop I used to work at. You gave me Destiny for Christmas. I'm sorry I never opened it. You're welcome for all the free coffee I gave you. But now I'm finally playing Destiny. So hey,
Did he give you a
You know-
$60 copy?
he gave me a $60. It was brand new. It was the week Destiny came out. He was in love with Destiny. He would come in every day talking about it. And the Christmas after Destiny came out, he bought it for me. And I don't know how much it was, but it was brand new in box, wrapped and sealed, and I never ever played it.
Oof.
So, and I literally just remembered his name was Ben too. So I was like, no way. Yeah.
So you had to have another Ben be your guardian.
Had to have
Exactly.
another Ben bring me
Yeah.
in. So thanks Bens. All Bens,
Bens.
thank you.
Any closing thoughts on Destiny, y'all?
Destiny not ad over. Not an ad.
I'm sure we'll have more thoughts next week.
No, it's
After
great though.
the
Like
movie
just to
comes.
leave it on that, like Destiny is great. Yeah, everybody gives it a lot of crap, but I feel like a lot of people do because it's so good, and there's a very hardcore fan base, and I feel like they're hard on it, but it's one of the most special experiences in gaming.
From what I played of the single player, which is only Forsaken so far, the single player is also really fun too.
Yeah.
I played it just without any friends, but you can play it co-op because I don't
All
have
right.
any. So
RIP Cade. RIP Cade. Now, we are going to trade Guardians for Street Kids, Nomads, and Corpos because some of us have been playing the re-released or updated CyberPunk 2077. Who here has played Cyberpunk 2077 this week?
I have.
So
Sounds
two
like
of
I
us. This is your first time playing, right?
Yeah, it's my first time.
Yeah, let's you lead. Then I'll kind of like go off of you since this is my returning to Night City.
After hearing about and seeing the state that Cyberpunk was in, I decided to wait, even though I was hotly anticipating this game. I mean, I was really, really looking forward to it. But I was not gonna have my first experience of the game be less than it could be, I guess. So I waited for the next gen version. And I said, when the next gen version comes out, I'll play it. But when the announcement happened, I was like, oh man, it's so crowded. I'm definitely not gonna be able to beat it before this other stuff comes out. But I couldn't help myself. I was like, it's there. It's there sitting on my console. This is the PS5 version.
you already bought it.
Yeah, exactly. I had already purchased it, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump in. It was funny because I was kind of fooling myself. I was like, all right, I'll make a character. I'm not gonna like spend much time on the creation screen. I just want to like get in there and see how it is, and then I'll put it down and I'll make a new character later when I come back to it in a couple months. But no. I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep playing. First of all, I will say that this game still feels like it's in a just launched state. I mean, it is not fundamentally broken the way that it was, but I had a soft lock within the first 20 minutes of the game.
Oof.
Where I had to restart because the game just totally froze. And then I had a hard crash within an hour of that. I haven't had haven't had any other crashes since then, but I've had plenty of other glitches, like companions running into lockers and throwing shit around that's not supposed to be thrown around, and all sorts of nonsense. It's still very buggy, but there's a lot to like about this game.
Yep.
There's a lot to like about this game, and I have really been wanting and really been longing for an experience akin to the Fallout games, like a first-person role-playing game in an open-world environment where I'm like, oh, what's that? That's interesting. Let's go do that. Oh, this caught my eye on the way. Let me go do that. This thing where I'm like immersed in a world and I'm just getting lost in it and I'm having a great time doing it. And this game definitely has that, despite its flaws. There's not as much role playing here as I would have liked. I think it's very much like The Witcher in that way, where you're playing a defined character, but Geralt is a lot more interesting than V is, and Geralt justifies that a lot more than V does. So I do feel like that is a weakness of the game that I'm experiencing right now. However, I didn't get Keanu Reeves until last night. He just showed up. So I'm hoping that injects a little bit more personality into the experience.
What do you think about the atmosphere and the style? Because to me, the atmosphere was the best I'd ever experienced.
It is good, but it is not. It's good, but thinking about the media that it stands up against, like Blade Runner and Ghost in the Shell.
Well, let's say if you compare it to video games, though, just what we're used to, as far as like any other games that have atmosphere, I feel like it not much competes with it, game wise.
Yeah, and it is a lot better because of the enhancements. Like Night City feels more alive. The visuals, being able to have much better render distance and visual presentation helps with that. Like helps sell what was already there a good bit more. It is a good atmosphere, and what's really impressive to me is like the just absolute density of the city. How much stuff is stacked on top of other stuff, and how much is interactive. Really dense in a good way.
It's the best open world ever.
Best open world ever. Well, I'm 5 hours in, so I can hardly judge the open world. I mean, I've really only been on the linear quest so far.
I think I'm better able to answer whether it's the best open world ever. I would say no. Because
what do you put, just for frame of reference, what do you put as the best open world ever?
I think that Hyrule from Breath of the Wild has a really good case to be considered the best open world ever. I know you disagree, Alfredo, but just in terms of like how you discover that world, it's so organic in Breath of the Wild, where it's like you are legit discovering the world as you're finding these shrines and finding these towers. I thought that was so like different than any other like way to discover a world. But Cyberpunk, just as a constructed, built like environment of story, of all the storytelling that you can do in that world, I think it's second to none. I think it's the best Bethesda game ever. I think that because it really does have that like Skyrim, Fallout structure to it, but it has enough of the things that I love from The Witcher 3 that I think it's kind of fits in the middle of those. Where I can't say it's better as a game than Skyrim or Witcher 3, but I think it's kind of built in the same mold of both of those games. Does that make sense? I know it's a little confusing, but I think that it's built very similar to a Bethesda game. Like, I think the marketing really did this game an injustice because it's basically a Bethesda game to me.
Because it promised too much?
Yeah. Like, I remember previews where they were talking about, oh, you can go into any building. You can, and I'm like, no, you can't. No, you can't. You can go into some buildings, but you can't go into every building. You can't talk to every NPC. Yeah. Every NPC doesn't interact with you. But if you get, like, going back to it from when I played it when it first came out, it made me appreciate it a lot more. Because now with the game, like, for example, the one thing that really took me out of it was the driving. The driving in the original release was terrible. Like it felt bad driving these nice looking cars. Like these cars felt lifeless, weightless almost. Like besides rumble, there was no like weight to these cars. They felt lifeless. Like when like I'd get all these alerts all the time. Hey, you can unlock this car. I'm like, I don't care. Like all these cars are the same. They feel the same. They're the same car. It's just different style. The updates changed all that. The driving to me is as good as GTA's now, which I'm actually I'm shocked of how much they were able to change. I thought that was something that they could never really. I thought that's something you can't just patch in.
I mean, it has been over a year now, right? I mean, that's something I would expect for them to fix, as well as many of the game-breaking bugs.
I'm happy it's here. I don't think we're gonna get that.
I want third person too. That's the only thing that will make me play this game.
Yeah, honestly. Me too.
But yeah. As somebody who has not played the game and is still, I will within the next couple months right after all of these crazy game releases come. But this game reminds me, from what I've seen, a lot of another game called Deus Ex. What first mankind divided? I think it had like the new trilogy.
You mean the second one?
Yes.
Human Revolution
yes.
was the 2011 release, and Mankind Divided was the 2015 release.
Thank you. This game reminds me both of those games in terms of what I would expect out of it, but from the marketing, it seemed to promise more. So I was expecting something along those lines, even though it's coming from CD Projekt Red, and they have to follow up The Witcher. So my question, I guess, is, as the game as it is now with these next gen upgrades, is it better than that game, or is it like along the same lines? Because that game didn't necessarily stand out to me, but it was still a fun. It did what it was striving to do pretty well.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Because they're completely different games.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say setting wise, they are very similar,
Mhm.
but even in setting, they're different. Like, they're both cyberpunk, but Deus Ex is a lot different. The vibe is completely different. Like,
this game seems more edgy, whereas
it
that
seems
one is
more playfully edgy. Like, where I don't know how much anime you watch, Alfredo, but Deus Ex reminds me more of like a Psycho-Pass.
Okay.
Where it's like serious cyberpunk. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not serious. Like, there are dildos all around the place. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, they didn't
like
that?
Yeah. And I think they patched that out, because I remember when first playing it, there were like an obscene amount of dildos in this game.
Yes, there are.
I think yes,
there are. That's the good part.
Is that them trying to be like Grand Theft Auto somehow, some weird way?
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like, Cyberpunk feels like Cyberpunk GTA. You know what I'm saying? Deus Ex takes itself very seriously, which I think is for the better for that.
It's not just that too. I mean, I've sung the praises of the Deus Ex games on this podcast before.
Yeah,
I love those games. Those games are immersive sims in the style of Thief and
right.
What's another good one? Dishonored.
If
you want to
isn't that?
This game is not. This game is an open world. This game is much more akin to The Witcher 3.
It basically is The Witcher 3, just in a different setting, and not third person. Like, it's
interesting. Okay.
The quest structure is the same, the open world structure is the same. It's just a different setting. So if you like The Witcher 3, I think you'd like this game.
Okay.
Yeah, the only difference, I think Ben pointed it out, is Geralt is his own character, and V is more of an open character. Like, there is a crafted narrative for it, but I think it's way more underwritten than Geralt.
Yeah,
that's probably based on the fact that Geralt has like actual literature behind him. Like, CD Projekt Red didn't create Geralt; like, they adapted him from books. While they created V.
The difficult thing for me is that Geralt had when you're speaking through Geralt's mouth, like when you're choosing your dialogue selection, essentially, or choosing what Geralt's going to do, it all exists within a choice space that makes sense for the existing character. So the fact that it's limited is justified by the fact that you are playing an existing character with motives and an identity. They could have done that for V. They could have established V's identity stronger in what V will do, what V will not do. But they decided not to do that. They decided to make it more like the Fallout games, where you kind of, it's carte blanche, more like.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't work for me, because you still have the limited menu of stuff to pick. You still are boxed into the same number of dialogue selections that you would have had for Geralt. I mean, it's for the majority of the dialogue in the game, it's like one option that advances the text and a bunch that just expand on what was already set. So it's like dig in deeper or move ahead. And there's not enough. There's not enough, like, at least in the first 5 hours, again, for me, there's not enough. Okay, I'm going to create this V. I'm going to role play. I'm going to set my mark on the character, versus like the character is defined. It exists in this uncomfortable middle space.
So what you're asking for is basically like the Paragon system in Mass Effect, kind of, where not just to, Renegade or Paragon, like good versus bad, but more of like in betweens grades. Like you wanted a more extensive branching dialogue path. Basically.
Like I'm saying, it's either or. So we either need a more defined V, and Shepard's a good example actually, because Shepard was a brand new character with no book baggage the way that Geralt has.
Right.
But Shepard, he or she was defined by the role that Shepard encompassed, right? So like you can't. There's so many things that are precluded by Shepard being the commander of the Normandy. That means Shepard can't be tons of different things that are possible in the Mass Effect universe. That's not the case with V.
Okay, that's
V is like a criminal in the underworld of Night City. So like the menu of options should be so much greater than it actually is.
And
because the identity is just not defined.
That's fair.
And that kind of goes into my chief criticism of the game when it first launched, and that's expectations just weren't met, because that was one of the things they presented that was going to be a thing where you choose this life path, and this life path determines how V is going to respond to different characters. And that basically turned into, oh, you get one more option in the dialogue box that only this life path would say, but it doesn't really matter, and that was just something that they, I call it the No Man's Sky effect, where you promise all these things like, oh yeah, there's multiplayer, you can see other characters. Like, no, you can't. It's like, and that's one of the things where it's like, they said we'd probably be able to do that, and it just didn't turn out to be that way. And so, I think that this update has sparked new life into it. I don't think it will save Cyberpunk, but I do think that, because I think we said, like, was this a good time to release this? Because it is coming in the eye of the storm. Like, we already had a stacked February leading into March. And now they just threw this game out there. Like, do we think that was a smart decision?
No.
I think it was.
I think it was too.
Because from what I'm gathering of you guys playing this game, you're saying, okay, it's still not the greatest thing in the world. It's better, but it's not the greatest thing in the world. And I think they probably knew that and were comparing it to, okay, we got Horizon, we got Elden Ring. These are going to be S tier games coming up. And then we have all of these other games coming out. How do we put this out, this highly anticipated next gen game, without people saying
that's true.
We failed again?
It's like Matt said in the chat. He was like, it's going to shield it from other criticism because there's so much else going on. So they're kind of sliding under the radar. Yet if they had been extremely confident, then they could have hyped it up as being, hey, April, whatever, we're going to come out and release it.
There's only so much they could have added, though. Like, I wanted to kind of temper expectations as to what this was going to be, because there was no way they were ever going to get Cyberpunk to the state in which they promised in those previews and promised in their, like, Nintendo Direct style events. Like, there's no way they were ever going to get it to that point. But they've got it to a point where this is what it should have launched as. Like, I should have always been able to look into the mirror and change my appearance. I should have always been able to go and buy multiple apartments. Like, the driving should have always been good. Like, this stuff should have already been in the game. Now it is, and I appreciate that. But I do think there's like they didn't want to overhype this as like, oh, this is Cyberpunk 2.0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as somebody who's jumping in fresh now, I will say, for the question of like whether or not this can save Cyberpunk, it has made the game playable for me. I'm enjoying it. Right? It looks good. It runs well. I'm playing it on the 60 frames per second performance mode. I have dipped into the ray tracing mode a little bit, which does not have ray trace reflection, which stinks, but I understand it. I mean, like, ray trace reflections in this game are incredible. If you haven't seen the PC footage of the ray tracing in this game, you have to look at it because it is a sight to behold.
How'd you think of the ray tracing mode in this? Because I thought it was awful.
It does. No, it does. I mean, going from 60 to 30 is always a difficult transition, but it does not appear to hold 30 on ray tracing mode, which for just ray trace shadows, there's no way that's worth it. I mean, if they eventually add ray trace reflections in a future update, I would consider it. But
You're playing on PS5, right?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I am playing on PS5. Yeah, as of right now, no, it's not. The fidelity mode doesn't seem worth it at all for me.
Have any of you tried the Matrix Unreal Engine 5 thing?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yep.
How is that? Like,
Great.
You remember our impressions of that? That was like my. I thought it was
don't
the
think I
game
was
of the
there.
year 2021.
I don't think Taylor was there. Yeah, that was really good. You should try it.
It was
out
amazing.
when you get a chance. Like it's actually really good.
Gotcha.
I do think we should drift into kind of the questions that the chat is posing.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can Cyberpunk ever recover from their launch? Is that the one you were looking at?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think, what does recover mean? Because I think that to answer the question, you got to understand, like, what does recover mean for them? Because do I think they're going to recover like No Man's Sky recovered? No. I think there's no chance.
I think the big thing to me is, can they recover their brand, the CD Projekt?
Right.
And I don't think they can until their next game comes out. And if The Witcher 4, whatever, and if they nail it with that, then they're good. They've recovered.
I agreed with you guys, because we did talk about this question a number of episodes back, maybe almost a full year back at this point. I agreed with you guys at that point, but playing the game now, and again, what I said earlier, there's a lot to like about this game. I'm sure that there are a lot of people like me who are jumping in for the first time, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people like Thomas who are coming back in and getting a much better experience this time. Absolutely. And you think about the timeline of updates that No Man's Sky has had, and how long it took them to get to a point where they basically had everything that they had originally promised in launch. It was something like 2 or 3 years until they added multiplayer. And now I would say that No Man's Sky is better considered than it would have been had everything been rosy, because of the fact that they have supported this thing with free updates year over year.
Yeah.
Now, to Thomas's point, there's no way that CD Projekt Red, the scale of that company and the scale of this game, can support year after year of free updates the way that No Man's Sky has been. I mean, No Man's Sky has basically put out like 3 expansions worth of content for free over the past 6 years, which is totally nuts. However, we know that CD Projekt Red can put out really good expansions. They're not for free, but they're really good. They're some of the best expansions that have ever released for a single player game, right? So I say you put in another year of free updates like the ones that we have been getting on Cyberpunk, and then you put out 2 years of excellent expansions, and then you're only ever selling the Game of the Year edition after that. I mean, I think the sentiment turns around at that point. Like I said, again, there's a lot to like about this game, and so if they can just let that shine, then there's definitely a chance for this game to turn around for sure.
I agree.
It's speaking from someone who has not played this game yet and is waiting. I will be playing in the next month or so, but from what I'm getting from you guys' impressions is that this is a good game, but there's still a lot that it needs to uncover in order for it to be considered a great game. I also think it's hard for us to compare this game specifically to No Man's Sky, because with No Man's Sky, that was a company, I forgot what the company is called, but
Hello Games.
Yeah. They hadn't put out anything before that. Like, this was their first big AAA project, and it failed. And with CD Projekt Red, we had The Witcher, and Cyberpunk 2077 was the most hype game possibly ever to ever even come to fruition, and it tanked. And with that comes no one might ever trust CD Projekt Red again until The Witcher 4 comes out, and it's great. So I think they took the fall even harder than Hello Games did. And it seems like even with this big update and them specifically pushing it out at the time where they can fly under the radar, it doesn't really send that confidence that they even want to stick with this game and make it a No Man's Sky kind of big deal, where we'll give it a couple 2-3 years of good development. We're going to focus on this and then make it what you wanted it to be in the first place. Like, that's not the confidence and the signal.
And I disagree a little bit, though, because I do think there's value in making the Cyberpunk brand viable again, because who's to say you don't want to release a sequel in the next decade?
No, I think they will. I think they'll right the ship
Yeah.
on Cyberpunk and they'll make it probably great. But I still think there's been long-term damage to their brand because
Yeah.
say they have Witcher 3, which was an unbelievable game, widely considered one of the best games of the last generation of all time. Then they roll from that, and if Cyberpunk 2077 had released and it had been the hit we thought it was going to be, they're automatically right there. They're in the upper they are with in my book, Naughty Dog and Rockstar, where everything they release is phenomenal. With literally the game industry stops and it is quadruple A release, like that was the path they were on, but they blew it. And I don't think that they can get that back unless I think they have to do a few things. I think they got to turn the ship around on this, release some amazing expansions, like Ben said. Then Witcher 4's got to come out and it's got to kill it. And then and only then they will be considered like, holy shit, CD Projekt Red, like, top.
But do you guys think that as far as expansions go for this game, Cyberpunk, do you think that people will be all gung ho to pick it up and like try the new Cyberpunk game?
Yeah, I think they can. I think they can do that. I do think they can do that. That's
if the game continually gets better. Like they continually make it a better experience. So by the time those expansions do come out, we're playing a game that's not crashing that much. We're playing a game that's adding more little things. I think that it can.
Their long-term goals on this, and I think that they've talked about this before, was to add in online. I don't know that they'll ever do it now, but
they need to
slow.
I hope they slow their horses on that because there's.
But I mean,
a lot more things.
They referred to it as a separate Cyberpunk project that wasn't an online. So I think they were classing that as a different game rather than a GTA online style thing.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I also there's this idea that is sort of coming to me where you look at the sales tail that No Man's Sky has had. I'm not sure exactly why it has lasted so long, because I mean the game still sells incredibly well. It still charts every once in a while when there's a big expansion that comes out.
Probably because it's only like $10.
Well, no, it maybe
no, it's like 30. It's
now
30.
It is.
People see all these updates and they're like, "Man, another No Man's Sky update."
Yes.
Okay, well then it's time to jump in and check this out.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
They've had a lot of
my
opportunities too, because they also had like, okay, we're releasing on Xbox now. Oh, releasing on Switch now. So they've had opportunities to kind of brand it differently too. I think that they
and VR.
It's VR as well.
Yeah,
so they've had opportunities I don't think to kind of relaunch it.
I don't think it's just that.
Okay.
I think it is the initial massive marketing push that planted the seed in a bunch of people's head, where if the game had been good on launch, they would have picked it up because they saw the marketing. They were like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Maybe they're not as engaged of a gamer, but they've got a friend who is, and it's like, oh yeah, you show me that trailer for No Man's Sky. That's dope. How is it? The friend's like, it sucks. Then they talk to the friend 3 years later, and the friend's like, oh, I'm playing No Man's Sky again. What? I thought it sucked. No, it's great now. It's actually really great now. That's going to be the narrative for Cyberpunk. So I imagine that Cyberpunk is going to have a really long sales tail, the way that No Man's Sky is, where people kind of keep trickling in because they're like, wait, I thought Cyberpunk was totally broken and shitty. Yeah, but it didn't stay that way. It's not that way anymore. If you buy it now, it's going to be better. That's going to give CD Projekt Red incentive to continue supporting it and to support it with expansions, which I think they need to. I really think that they should not let this sit as it is. I mean, I think they need to redeem the product before they move on to something else.
I need to play this game. I feel like I'm still kind of in the dark. I don't want to play the game for clarification's sake, but I feel like to be more informed about what this game could be and its potential, I need to play it. So Ben, make me play it for a book club.
Yeah, well, you made a good point. No Man's Sky, they kept hitting with those updates, and then they kept breaking people down. And eventually, with those updates kept coming, they eventually gave in.
And also, so what I was kind of pointing out before was that So I mentioned how Cyberpunk was $10, but right now it's $30. So what's pretty common, and they did this a lot for No Man's Sky too. So remember how that game tanked like real bad? No, everyone thought it sucked. So the game went down to like $5. It was always on sale, and then once the new update came out, automatically it's bumped back up to $60 because this patch fixed everything. So they reprice it on Steam, locally, in GameStop, everywhere, basically, which is kind of a crazy concept. So it could be that we might see Cyberpunk go back up to $60 when it is actually quote unquote finished.
I also thought the reason why I was going so down in price was because I don't remember it going down in price on digital storefronts. I remember it going down in price in like for the actual disc, and I felt like that was because people were returning it. Like the stores were getting all these copies back that weren't even opened.
And hey, at least it wasn't taken off of a digital marketplace.
Right. It wasn't even on PlayStation for a while. That's right. You make a point. So I don't know if it was they made the price $5 or $10. I think it was the stores just charging that because they got to get rid of these games. They have they're not getting new shipments of games. They're literally trying to resell these games that have been returned. I don't know. It's a lot of moving parts with that, but I think it can make a recovery, for lack of a better word. I don't think it's going to be a No Man's Sky recovery. I feel like that was a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah,
I think that's an amazing story from a studio that really stuck with that game because they kind of had to stick with that game. I don't know what the future games that Hello Games are coming out with. Haven't heard anything.
It's not a once in a lifetime game, right? Because there are
Final Fantasy did it.
Okay, so Final Fantasy probably
that's a good example.
Final Fantasy 14 probably wrote the book on this.
They did. Yeah.
However, also Rainbow Six Siege.
Yep.
And also to a different extent because it wasn't broken, but Fortnite. Nobody gave a shit about Fortnite when it first came out. But after a rebrand and continuous support of the game, it's now the biggest thing on earth. Right? So this is not, No Man's Sky is not a one and done type situation. But plenty of games are saved like this.
That's fair.
But what I mean is from a single player perspective, because all those other games you mentioned are multiplayer games. I think when you have a multiplayer game, it's a little different. When it's just a single player experience, like most times, like you're going to get patches, but it's kind of going to be what it is. That to me is what I mean why No Man's Sky was such a unique thing, because it's really not a multiplayer game. It's kind of just like an exploration single player game for the most part, as far as I know.
Well, now that makes sense, but now it's multiplayer game actually.
It is. Right. But when it was making its recovery, it was still a single player game. That's what I mean by you don't really see single player games change to that extent. That's why I think No Man's Sky is a little unique.
But I would have to suspect that's because you don't typically see single player games supported to the degree that a multiplayer game is supported.
Yeah.
Right.
Because a multiplayer game is expected to continue to live on as the community continues to play it, it gets more attention.
And they can also
there's nothing that like stops CD Projekt Red from giving it more attention, and I think they need to.
Yeah, but it is unique though that they did that, because it doesn't, even though it has happened before, it doesn't happen often. And I remember so many people thought Anthem, like this was going to be Anthem's story. It's going to be another Hello Games. They're going to turn this whole thing around.
Why did you have to bring that game up, Cole? Oh my God. I forgot all about. I remember I was so hyped for that game. Like game seemed like a dream come true. I'm
one of the best E3 live demonstrations ever.
I'm Tony Stark, and this is BioWare. What? And then it wasn't. It just wasn't. Man, I totally forgot about that game. That game's gonna. That game, I think like they dropped support of that game completely. So yeah, it's definitely not going to be an Anthem case scenario. I feel like this update has at least given it life. But it's up to them to see where that goes. I think that it's far from a finished product. And yeah, we have to see what happens with these expansions. And I want to point out the funniest comment I saw in here that is from Game Catharsis. There is no such thing as an obscene amount of dildos.
That's true.
I agree. Teach his own. So a game doesn't have any dildos, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Horizon Forbidden West. As far as I know, it's rated teen, so I don't think we'll see any.
You didn't get
We'll
that
see.
DLC
Nah,
launch
no,
edition code?
I won't get that DLC. So I think 3 of us have been playing Horizon. Does that sound right? So
Yeah, I think so.
me, Cole, Alfredo. You know, I think Cole's put the most time into it. Cole, you start. How are you loving this game?
Yeah. Well, what are our hours count? I'm about 8-ish hours in, I believe.
Where are you,
For-
Alfredo? I mean, there's
Well, I'm
spoilers.
maybe levels will help. I'm on level 10 quest, but I'm level 14.
Did you finish that quest, Death's Door? I think it's what it's called.
I can't remember. I think that's the one I'm on. I keep getting distracted by the side quests.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not even in the West yet.
I'm not either, I don't think. At 10
Where?
hours in.
Zero West.
Oh.
Zero West.
Yeah,
West.
surprisingly.
It's Zero West right now.
Yeah, it's in the title. The West is forbidden. You can't go there in the game.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
What were you thinking?
exactly. True.
So yeah, I'm like 4 hours in, and I've been playing, and we lost him again. I've been playing all of the side quests that I can. So I'm probably could be a little farther out, but when it comes to open world games I enjoy, I'm doing all the side quests. So yeah. But,
So they made every single complaint I had with the original game. They've made it better. They've added way more towns. There's more towns and settlements in the first 2 hours of this game, the 3 hours of this game, than there was in the entire first Horizon.
Nice.
And if you remember right, like we had Breath of the Wild where you could climb everything, and Horizon where you could not climb anything. You could climb nothing in that first game. It was like this weird, awkward platform where you're sliding down rocks and jumping around. I haven't played it lately, so maybe, Alfredo, you just replayed through it.
I finished Horizon Zero Dawn, the first one, a day before this one came out. Because that's how I like to play these games where Last of Us 2 comes out. I'm finishing The Last of Us 1 right the day before and then rolling right into the second one. So
you can speak to a point I'm about to make. So, and I wanted a glider, just like Breath of the Wild. We got it.
Hell yeah.
Which is a little underwhelming, but it's okay. Then we got, what was another? The melee combat is better. And I wanted better melee combat. But the climbing, you can pretty much climb. It's very Assassin's Creed. You can pretty much climb anything that you think you would be able to climb.
You
can't
climb most
surfaces.
things. You can climb most things.
If you think you could climb it, you can probably climb it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty awesome.
But what's good is that they actually have a mechanic that you can scan the area and it shows you what you can actually climb, as opposed to you just trying to jump on something and it's not climbable, and you had no idea.
Yeah, and it's shocking actually. Most of the time you use it, I see tons of stuff I can climb, which I would never have thought I could climb in that game.
Yeah, truth be told, I like this climbing more than even Uncharted's climbing, and I put Uncharted's climbing at the pinnacle of climbing games.
What?
I don't.
Yeah. In what world does Uncharted? It's got the worst climbing. It's so
Uncharted.
Well,
you
Uncharted's
feel
marked.
It's
It's
you
marked.
feel invested.
You sit there, you scratch your tummy, you're like, click X. It's come on.
This game's more like
what's the
Assassin's
best
Creed.
climbing then? What's the best climbing?
I Breath of the Wild.
Oh
Yeah,
God,
no.
Here's the thing. I get what you're saying from gameplay wise. There's a lot of different, like with that stamina meter, there's a lot of different gameplay opportunities there. Like I do understand that. But I just have a lot more fun climbing in this game. Like it just feels better. How the dual sense feels in my hand when she hits a rock. And the dual sense, just the conversation about that with this game could be a podcast in and of itself.
Wait. I do have to counter the Breath of the Wild thing. Why should I be able to climb anything in the world? Anything. Like, no, that's not how real life works. You can't just climb anything.
Yes, you can.
Yes,
you can, Alfredo.
Yes, you can.
Oh, you're telling me I can go up to this apartment wall and just start climbing it like I'm Spider-Man? No,
that's what I'm saying.
Alfredo, I have a question.
What?
Are you Link?
I got the shield and the hat, so maybe.
If you were Link, you could climb anything.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, let's get back to Horizon. It's stupid that you can climb anything. There, I said it. Anyway.
But I like this climbing better than even Breath of the Wild's climbing because there is a layer of you have to think about it. Like it's not just climb straight.
Yeah.
and you're up the mountain. It's like there are puzzles that you kind of have to figure out to get to places. So it's almost like a happy medium in between Horizon Zero Dawn's just, average climbing and Breath of the Wild's climb anything. I think it's a good medium in between those two things.
And a lot of the times they actually have branching climbing paths. So there's not just one way to climb to this one place, like Thomas is saying, but like you can climb all the way around and gain a strategic advantage, like high up against all of the enemies. Like you can plan your attack that way, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So, okay, the graphics are unbelievable too. Best graphics I've ever seen in a game.
Okay.
Ever.
Well, that
Ever.
begs the question. The most important question, gentlemen, we're going to be asked by anyone is, does Ally look like butt?
Alloy?
Alloy.
Yeah.
Aloy.
Aloy.
Put some respect on her name.
Well,
Oh
me
my
and Thomas
God.
were hating on her on our stream. We were talking about how big her face looked. Remember?
It wasn't her face. It was her cheeks.
Yeah, it looked like-
specifically.
Honestly, she looks the same, guys. I just played the first one, and she does look the same. She always looks that way. You just
You know
have
what,
to-
She's getting pissed.
my friend came over and she was watching me play, and she said something that I was like, okay. She's like, Nick, she has your same face. I was like, I just looked at her, I was like, no, she doesn't. And I was looking at her, I was like, oh, God damn it.
side by side.
She has the fat cheeks and everything. I was like, God damn it. She does. It's like I motion captured for her. Like God.
I only play games with attractive main characters. That's why I only play Metal Gear Solid. It's the only game I play.
Fair point.
Fair.
Fair point.
That's
Fair
hilarious. Oh my God.
Especially 2.
Especially two.
No, especially 4. Especially 4.
Oh yeah.
So
President's pretty hot.
the scope of this game, though, when you get to a peak, it's bigger than Breath of the Wild. It feels bigger and more grand than Breath of the Wild.
What modes are y'all playing on?
Normal?
What's
I'm
the
performance?
Yeah.
I've switched because like the resolution mode, I wouldn't say it looks gap better, but it looks better. Like
I can't tell the difference.
I can't either, honestly.
I can tell slightly because performance mode, when you're moving, is a little blurry. Like a little blurry. Like when you're standing still, there's no difference. But when you're moving around, there is a little. And I saw the comment in the chat.
Yeah, this is a total aside, but I feel like we have to address it.
Yeah.
We got
I'm gonna kill Ocelot. I'm gonna marry Snake.
Yeah, that's
and
mine.
I'll copulate with Raiden.
Yeah,
I think everyone's got to marry Snake. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does anyone disagree with marrying Snake?
I don't know who any of these people are because I never played this.
Oh, that's right. You never played
I
Metal
do
Gear.
nothing.
I feel like 90% of the
Heathen.
gaming community would have went with what Taylor just said.
I'm copulating Snake. I'm sorry.
You can do that when you're married.
You
Yeah.
can, but I mean, one time's good enough for me. And
Who's gonna copulate Ocelot, marry Raiden, and kill Snake?
Well, Snake feels like a cuddler. He's gonna spoon you. That's what I feel.
that was a
I
great
think,
game.
I think Raiden. I think canonically, though, Raiden was the only one who ever got married.
That's true.
Of the
Isn't
three of
Raiden the
them,
cool
it's true.
one? I don't know anything about this.
Raiden's the pretty
Game
boy.
person.
The cool
Raiden's
the
robot,
boy.
right?
He said,
Play
Yeah, he's the
Revengeance.
cyborg, yeah.
Everybody
He said-
play Revengeance as soon as you can. Play Revengeance, our most underrated Metal Gear game.
Yo,
It's
he said marriage,
Bayonetta.
marriage is unlimited copulation.
That's the whole point.
That to my
That's
wife.
the best thing about it.
Oh man! But, all right, back to Horizon.
Anyway, yeah, this game
So-
that is innocent.
Okay,
As far as we know, there could be dildos. We
so
don't.
here's I'm gonna finish my thought. So the game's unbelievable, and for the first like 5 hours, I was thinking game of the year, so hyped on it. But I think I may be reaching a little bit of fatigue, like burnout. But I've played it so much in the past 2 days that I think that's kind of wearing on me.
See,
every-
that's
every
what I
time
was
I-
afraid. That's what I've
Yeah.
been afraid of with it. Where
Yeah.
I think I'm going to play this game a little slower paced. Like I'm still going to beat it within probably the next week or so, but I'm not going to marathon it. I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah, because I'm starting to become I'm kind of, whereas I was thinking it was so new and different and amazing, I'm starting to fall into the side of the camp where this is more Horizon, and
Mm-hmm. No,
That's a good thing.
we lost your audio.
like the graphics are great, the combat unbelievable, but it just still, I'm kind of starting to get a little bit down at the thought that, oh man, it is more Horizon. And whether it's bad or not, but
yeah, this is what I wanted though. Like I was anticipating it's gonna be more Horizon, and that's exactly what it's like the opposite of Cyberpunk.
How
Where it's like,
how is the main narrative? Because that was one of the things that was most surprising to me about Zero Dawn was how good that was.
yeah, me too.
Double-
That was
Open world
shocking, shockingly good.
double is sci-fi. Like there's a lot more sci-fi.
It's awesome. It lives up to the first one.
For ill.
Is
Yeah.
there?
Thomas,
Well,
where are you? Wait, where are you? No, there is. I don't think y'all have gotten to this big key moment yet.
I feel
I'm
like
saying what I'm experiencing, and also what I've heard in reviews. Like it seems like they are going way more in the sci-fi.
They are for sure. I think y'all are right on the, like you're right there at about to get a big story moment.
from what I'm experiencing so far, it is a lot of sci-fi because I just played the first one, and that one is actually really, really sci-fi heavy, like more than I even remember it being. It's very little.
It ends up there, but it doesn't start there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has it integrated throughout the whole time, actually. So
it hints at it, and then it opens up after you reach like one of those vaults in the first one.
Yeah, it's surprising how much sci-fi is in the first one, to be honest. And with this one, the first thing I noticed was actually how much more they're doing with the tribes as opposed to the first one. Because with the first one, they didn't really touch story-wise on the many, many different tribes and their like the politics of the different tribes. This one, they're going all into the politics of all of these different factions in the Forbidden West, in all of these different regions, and how Aloy can help them in their politicking, or whatever you want to call it. So there's a lot of that, but there is also the sci-fi aspect, and honestly I would put it 50-50 at where I am right now, because I actually had to take a step back and I was like, okay, this is very politics wise.
Yeah,
I don't
it
know
reminded me
if
of
I'm
Final
here
Fantasy
for
12. Like even though Final Fantasy 12 was like so politic based, but it does switch. So where I'm at right now, I want to do nothing but mainline the story, because it gets, you're right there. I think you're on the mission where it starts getting really good.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it is really good. The side missions as well as the main story. I think the main story does a really good job at keeping you strung along to the next thing. But at the same time, it kind of feels like this grandiose fetch quest where it's like, okay, we got to do this. Oh, the location move, we got to go here now. Oh, you can't go here yet because you have to do this. So it's a lot of, oh, do this, then this, then this, as opposed to it feeling more urgent. Like this isn't, so far what I've experienced, this isn't like a Last of Us story where I'm super, super invested in the character of Aloy herself, super invested about everything about what's going on in the world. It feels much more like a playground to me, to be honest, because I am doing all of the side quests, because the side quests are actually really, really good. I would put it up there, honestly, with the Witcher side quest, where like I definitely feel like whenever I come to one that I need to do this side quest because it's so fun, because this side story is so interesting. It's not just a fetch quest, like they have a mini storyline to it, and it's really enjoyable. And you get rewarded with different skill points or weapons or whatever it may be. Like the side quests feel to me more fun than the main quest right now, because it's these
you mentioned
stories.
You mentioned it. Like The Witcher 3, I feel is the best comparison to this game. Because I felt like with the first one, you could see that Witcher 3 is a much more expansive RPG than the first one. This one, it seems closer to The Witcher 3 in terms of everything you can do. I still think The Witcher 3 probably has it beat in the amount of side quests. But as far as like what I've heard and what I've seen so far, like I do remember a point in The Witcher 3 where it's like, oh, there's just a shit ton of things to do now.
Yeah.
This one seems like it's getting there though. And I'm like, I was not expecting it to be that expansive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm actually like amazed. And the fact that it looks as good as it does at all times. like where you can just take a random picture at any point in the like. I have the pause right here. I just pause it at a random point, and it looks like a screensaver. Like I just paused the game at a random point. It just looks incredible, and I'm like, that's just it's impressive. Like you would.
I was gonna say, to your point of looking incredible, like walk around the towns, they're bustling, and like the tavern's just full of people and full of
Tavern
activity.
is so cool.
God,
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's awesome.
Also,
Feels
the
next
one
gen.
thing they changed from the first one that I appreciate. I don't know if y'all how much Mass Effect everybody's played, but when you get into dialogue trees in Mass Effect, it literally is just the characters, like one or two characters standing and just talking to each other, and there's not like they're just moving their mouths. Essentially, like that's always been a core of a lot of these like RPGs, especially these Western RPGs.
It was like that on Horizon 1, the first
Horizon.
Horizon.
One, it looked horrible to me.
Yeah.
Like, that was a bad offender of that.
They did away with it. It's gone. They don't do that anymore.
Every scene, like my friend's watching, and she's like, "Oh, what are you watching on Netflix?" I'm like, "Oh, this is not Netflix. Like, this is a video game." Like and like the attention to detail with every single interaction. Like this game feels expensive as hell.
Yeah, the faces look so realistic. Some of like I was talking to like the cook in the tavern.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this looks like
I love him.
It was a real guy. It's crazy.
Yeah, every character, even like the characters you wouldn't expect to get that kind of treatment.
Yeah,
they all look the part. Like nobody seems like, oh, the budget didn't go to. Like I don't know if y'all. I play a lot of Spider-Man. Like there's this little running joke. Like it's this like digitized pigeon that flies next to Spider-Man.
Oh, I've seen that.
And Spider-Man's like, oh, the budget didn't care about you, little pigeon. And that's in all these open world games where it's like the things that matter the most like look the best, and then everything else kind of looks whatever. This is the first open world game where everything just looks A1.
Yep. For the dialogue, can you guys tell if these scenes are motion captured or if they are hand animated or if they are dynamically generated?
I think it's a mix of hand animated and dynamically generated because
so you can tell when it's like lip flap kind of
because when I think motion capture, I think like Last of Us 2. Yeah. And you can tell it's motion capture. I don't know if is there much motion capture?
I think that a lot of the motion capture comes in for the main story, but not for the side quest.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's still very, very good and a step above.
I should clarify though, because there's clearly a lot of motion capture going on in just basic dialogue interactions in Zero Dawn, but motion capture refers to like the whole body. Yeah. What I mean is facial capture, where it's based on like a performance and they're getting the performer's face, face data so that they can animate off of that for a specific conversation. Usually in a game like this, you're not going to do that. When you have a regular conversation with a regular NPC, it's going to be dynamically generated. You'll have some motion capture animations to cycle through, so they'll be like, my wife said something about this, and then he'll like wave his hand. Like that'll be a motion captured animation that is available from a selectable list of stuff that the designer can do when they're creating the dialogue. But the face is like, oh, I'm in surprised mode now because the designer selected surprised mode for the line, and then it transitions to stern mode after I realize what is that.
They definitely don't do that.
The lips are like the lips are reading phonemes from the wave file that is recorded by the actor. So the actor's just in a booth, and it looks like this. They've just got a microphone in front of them, so there's no facial capture whatsoever. So you're not getting any of what the actor's actual performance is. Versus in the cutscene when they're like they got the full suit on and they're in the studio and like the cameras are on them and all that kind of stuff, where it is their face. You know, the animators are animating off of their face. So I'm wondering how much, like, did Guerrilla really go the extra mile and they made all of their little interactions hand animated or facial capture, or is their dynamic stuff just really, really good?
Now that you said that, I think the face stuff might be motion capture.
I mean, it definitely looks good to the point where it looks motion capture, but I think there is a little bit of, maybe they do have an extensive list, because I've caught it a few times where Aloy in some of these side quests is like looking in a different direction instead of like the person when she really shouldn't be. So, but it's very, very slight and very minimal to the point where I'm like, well, everything else is so good about this animation that I don't really care about that little detail. So yeah,
Yeah.
a little
And
bit A, a little bit B.
yeah, one thing I thought was interesting, I watched the Digital Foundry video, and they said that this game might be the roadmap to how Sony releases like these games that are also coming out on PS4, because they equate the PS4 version. I played like a maybe tiny bit of it. I watched the first scene in it. They equated it to like a PC running at low settings, and they equate the PS5 to it running at high settings. And they're saying that it probably means that this game is already going to be ready for PC sooner rather than later. That's what Digital Foundry's like analysis of it is. And I thought that was interesting because I remember one conversation we've been having is whether these cross-gen games are holding the PS5 back graphically. And they're basically saying no, gameplay wise, obviously there are things that, you know, a PS5 exclusive game probably would be able to do. But graphically, it seems that they've like reached their peak. That's what Digital Foundry basically said. Like this game, and just looking at it, this is the most incredible game I've ever seen.
Me too.
It looks great. I do want to touch on just the overall setting of this game and what I expected, because I played the first one so I could compare to the second one. And it's kind of exactly what you guys said. I feel like I'm playing DLC for Horizon. Everything about this game is better. The gameplay is better, the bows are better, the abilities that you can, the skill trees, the way that you can now customize your armor and your weapons, like that is far beyond what I actually expected this game to
How about
be.
her movement? Is her movement better?
Her movement is pretty much the same, honestly. She feels the same to me. She doesn't feel more responsive. That it's 60 frames, but also the patch for PS4, which is what I was playing, was also 60 frames. So Aloy feels pretty much the same to me as she did. I think that's why it feels so much like DLC, because we're getting these not minimal improvements, but it feels like it's not, let's say, you know, this God of War remake. I feel like this game is the same way I'm going to end up feeling about God of War Ragnarok, where, yeah, it's more God of War Ragnarok. Yeah, it's more Horizon, but it's not. The first one set such a high bar that it's hard for me to see, oh my God, this is amazing. It's a great game and I'm loving every inch of it, but it does feel like I'm playing DLC with better mechanics of the first one.
This feels like from Uncharted 3 to Uncharted 4 for me, where the leap is substantial. Yeah. Like it's a very substantial leap. Like if you cut on that game if you cut on the original game and then you cut on this game, it's a world's difference in terms of how they look. And I think like from movement wise, I more side with Cole just based on the DualSense. Like every step she takes, you feel on that controller. Every bowstring you pull and release, you feel it on that controller. So even though movement wise, like it's similar to the first game, I think the DualSense like integration is up there with some of my. I think this is my second favorite behind Astro's Playroom.
For me, the DualSense is it's not as great as I thought it would be. For me, it's completely missable. Like if I were to play this on PS4 without the DualSense, I probably wouldn't notice that much, honestly, because how they have done it, I guess they hyped up the DualSense integration with the bow. You'll feel every inch of it. I was expecting the DualSense integration to feel more like how Returnal did, where Returnal really made you feel like, yeah, this is something really incredibly special that only the PS5 DualSense could do. But it feels like with this one, with Horizon, as far as DualSense goes, for me, where, yeah, I feel the little pitter patter. I feel a little bit of tension, but it's nothing groundbreaking. It feels like I can do without these features, as opposed to it being actually something that is making this so much better. But that's just me.
Yeah, I feel like the DualSense for me, it disappears into the background and you don't really miss it until you don't have it. you know, because you're so immersed. I feel like you don't even really notice it when you're playing. But I think it is really good. I'm more side with Thomas on that. Now, I watched several spoiler-free reviews of this all week because I was pretty hyped. And several of them said that once you get past like the 10-hour mark, which is about where I'm at, the game really it really opens up and it feels like a sequel. They say that the first 10 hours or so feels like you're playing the same game, and then it opens up and it feels like a sequel. I don't think I'm quite there yet. And this is just pure speculation. I don't think I'm in the Forbidden West yet. I know Ben was saying that we're
Yeah, I
striving to
think
get
we're
there.
at the same place, Cole. It
But
doesn't feel like the
Maybe
Forbidden
we'll
West.
end the game in the Forbidden West. That's possible.
I think that about the 10-hour mark, I think something happens. You cross like a threshold, and like then you're in the Forbidden West. But boy, am I gonna be disappointed if it's not gonna get there.
Nope, just the same.
I'm banking on that Forbidden West coming in and making this game phenomenal. I think I'm being a little hard on it though. The game is incredible. It's so fun to play, so pretty to look at. It's like it's addicting. I mean, this is like video games at the pinnacle, I think.
The game is very good. I'm being critical on it, but I do want to say this is a really big step up. One of the best things about this game is how they handle upgrading your weapons and how substantial it feels, because that basically you are crafting, you are getting parts from specific machines in order to upgrade certain bows or whatever equipment that you want to make. Like crafting is really, really essential to the second game, whereas the first one you were more okay, just craft some more arrows. You can't really upgrade bows or anything, but you can buy better ones instead, as opposed to having an actual upgrade process for them. And this one gives you that upgrade process. It gives you a reason, okay, hunt that specific machine to give you this specific part so that you can upgrade this or make this specific weapon. And it really does feel so rewarding. Like when I upgraded one of my starter bows that I'm still using right now having a maxed up upgrade, it feels so good.
It feels like a Monster Hunter done like really, really good.
Yeah, it really does. And
Yeah.
I can't understate how fun it is to take down these different machines. First, to scan them, to see what different parts you can detach, break off, stuff like that. Stepping back a bit, this second game really highlights looking at a monster and seeing what different parts it composes of. The first one did this a little bit where, oh, you got to shoot off this part, but this one like amps up that by 10. You basically scan the machine and you can go into this little hologram where it's basically like, okay, these are the different parts of the machines. This is its this is its this. And with each part, it tells you, okay, this is breakable with this specific move. This gives you this loot if you break it off. If you keep it on, then you get this. Like it gives you a whole analysis of the machine and what breaking those parts off will deactivate for the machine so that it's easier to fight, or what moves break off basically. So it really rewards you for studying the machine and getting to know its moveset and its specific parts. And in order to beat it effortlessly, these are the parts you need to break off, and these are the parts that you can gain if you do these specific things successfully.
It's nice.
Why are we struggling with this? Like they have stepped the game up every possible way that I think that they could have. And up the ante, the story seems like it's going to be awesome again. But why are we struggling with the fact of it feels more of the same? Like I feel like we shouldn't be like that. But
we're only, I mean, the farthest is you, and you're only 10 hours. It's a 30-hour game.
Yeah.
You know, I play plenty of games where the first 10 hours feel, this is cool. And then like what defines the game is those remaining hours. So I think I've only heard in the reviews that the first 10 hours are a little much like Horizon 1.5. And then after that point, there's a certain point in the game that you're talking about where things get a little different and it opens up essentially.
Could it also be a bit of open world fatigue?
Yeah,
maybe this game is not
definitely for me
differentiating itself enough.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. See, and are we all talked about Breath of the Wild? I don't think the reason it's so good is not because the open world design is amazing. It's the sense of discovery. It's not having the things all over the map. And I'm so shocked that no other games took this from Breath of the Wild, because that was the best part of that open world, was the fact that there's not tons of icons. You actually have to go to it and see it happening. Like, I hate that when I'm riding through in Horizon, there's an exclamation point 200 meters this way. I have to go over there, and then the little thing plays out where someone's getting hurt and all this stuff's happening. It would be so much cooler if that wasn't even there and I was just riding through and I see this happening. No marker, nothing. It's just happening in the world, you know?
Yeah.
Like these markers, all these markers flooding the screen. I was kind of hoping that Breath of the Wild would get rid of this. Now, I think Elden Ring has taken a clue from Breath of the Wild, and they're not going to have any. It's all going to be sense of discovery. You make your own map. Like Breath of the Wild, remember we marked our own map. You put your own markers down.
Maybe that's why I hated it. I need a checklist. I need things. I like the way that Horizon
you hated the innovation, because I mean that, because the Breath of the Wild, if it's nothing else, can you at least admit, Alfredo, that it's innovative as hell? Like, there is no game that's like that. There's absolutely no game that's built like.
I feel like this needs to be a separate,
how much
podcast episode.
I
do not think Breath of the Wild is that innovative. I really don't.
How much cooler would it be is if look, you're in a town and they're like, hey, look to the long neck, head northeast from there. And there were signposts, like actual real signposts that marked your way. So you could actually follow a trail and look at the actual signpost. It'd be so much more immersive. I know that maybe a lot of people would hate it, but to me, like, got to, have confidence in the player a little bit.
Yeah, I think this game is built more like a Ubisoft open world than a Breath of the Wild open world for sure.
We'll just have to see how Kirby does with its open world. That's really going to be the test.
That's the one, yeah. That's the one.
I honestly can't wait. Is that March?
Yep, that's March.
Oh my gosh. It's part of the hurricane. It's part of the
Goodbye, my wallet.
We're in the eye of the hurricane, y'all. So, any final thoughts on this game so far? Because I mean, I'm having a great time. I'm too early to really gauge what exactly like the big differences are between the first one. But right now it seems like just more Horizon. Well, and that's what I wanted.
I will say there's a very big story reveal that y'all are about to see.
I hate huge. Silence so much, just saying. But other than that, he's so annoying. I love the characters. I love the open world. If you love open world games and you love the first one, you should definitely get this one. I'm sure all of us will have much more to say once we finish the game. So maybe we can do a spoiler cast and then really get down to the nitty gritty of it. Because it would be exciting to talk about the actual story more than, it seems like a fetch quest by now, but hopefully we get those big story reveals. So
yeah, and shouts out Lance Riddick for being in 2 or 3 of our games. Getting that check. Shouts out. Now we have a mailbag coming in live. Cole, take it away.
Mailbag. You send it to me, Alfredo?
I sure can.
Okay.
Here's your mailbag.
Professional Tekken player Tanakana. Can you pronounce that, Taylor? Do you know?
Tanakana.
I'm from Georgia. We have a hard time with this stuff. Recently got fired from her esports team for claiming that men under 5'7" don't have human rights. Do you agree? How tall are you? Is there an equivalent height limit for women? Please answer this without getting canceled. Oh, no.
Also, this question was from Danny DeVito Lover 59.
Wow.
Please answer this question without getting canceled. Well, the only way to answer that one without getting canceled is to not answer at all, I think.
Yeah, no comment.
I'm under 5'7". So
wait, is this real?
Lightly.
Did this really happen?
Yeah, that's real. 100% real.
This is a real true story. True.
Yep. Yeah. She was streaming Tekken, I think. Crazy. And she, you know how Twitch streamers are. They're just making jokes. And she went, yeah, men under 5'7" don't have human rights. And I think it blew up a lot more than it needed to, because it's just a joke. It's just a joke.
No,
the funniest part of this would be if her boyfriend was under 5'7".
That would be pretty funny. Well, see, the part of me wonders because she's a Japanese player. Part of me wonders because the average height in Japan is 5'7".
Mm-hmm.
Part of me wonders that the head of the esports team is 5'6" or something, he got real pissed off. He's like, ah, rah,
I have human rights.
I have human rights.
Wait, what's the average height in the U.S.? I'm curious.
5'9", 5'9".
5'9".
Oh,
yeah.
is it that tall? Wow.
Yeah.
I feel really bad now.
I'm sorry.
Gonna be
Wait,
over
let's,
here, I
wait, let's
guess.
ask the chat. We've all had this conversation. Let's ask the chat who they think the tallest out of all of us are.
That's a good question.
Who do you think is the tallest, chat? Can you
Probably
guess?
Ben. He's got those Nordic genes.
People are saying it's Ben,
It's
and they're
Ben.
correct.
It's Ben.
Why
It's
is it
Ben
so
according to the
obvious?
chat.
Ben's like 7'2".
Yeah.
He's like Larry Bird.
But as we mentioned before, I can still kick Ben's ass probably, so it's fine. Even
The
though I'm
Duke
a
of Martial
professional.
Arts.
It's true. You are the Duke
It's
of
true.
martial arts.
It's fact.
Called
So
him
don't mess
Larry
with
Bird. Oh my god, that's great. That's the content we need.
Larry Bird or Big Bird? I'm not
A
sure.
little bit of both.
Probably the same height, right?
Yeah, probably the same guy. We never saw them in the same place.
That's true.
Yeah,
That was a side job.
it was a side gig. NBA wasn't enough for him.
This is a crazy question.
Yeah.
this is a crazy question. Like I didn't know this happened. I mean, I can't say I feel bad for her for getting fired for saying
I
that.
do.
That's pretty disparaging.
I feel pretty bad because it's just a joke. Like,
yeah, I feel like it's a
Yeah.
joke that just they took too seriously.
like let's be fair. There are streamers in the U.S. who have made much worse jokes, looking at PewDiePie, and never got canceled. I think PewDiePie was living in the U.S. He may have been UK at that point, but like, come on.
I don't know.
Don't
I hate all
don't
these
talk about
stories.
people's height, y'all.
I hate when people
Yeah.
say something in jest and they just get absolutely drilled over it. And like
Yeah.
this girl's career is probably like ruined over this. Sucks.
Well, she was a Tekken streamer, so it probably wasn't going great. But
Now, if she said something like, if she said something else, like I don't know, but this is just ridiculous.
yeah,
Now, there's a part of the question we haven't answered. Is there an equivalent height limit for women? We kind of skated by that part.
I like that you gulped. You had a really big gulp right there. Is there?
No
Yeah,
comment.
Is there?
I
Over
don't-
6'2"?
What?
6'2"? Why 6'2"?
I want
just
my.
don't like- I like
Oh.
shorter women.
Did you say Oprah?
Over.
Oh, I thought you said like Oprah. And I'm like Oprah's not
comma,
like 6'2".
You about to have a whole bunch of WNBA women at your door. Like,
Right,
what,
exactly.
Cole?
It's okay. No one will see him coming because no one watches the WNBA.
I watch the layup sometimes.
Ooh. All right, settle down, kids. Settle down, kids.
I like WNBA. I do. But
Good for them.
All right. Any other thoughts on this funny question?
You can also write into the Dukes of Gaming, and if you want your silly or serious question answered, so just putting that out there.
Oh, Game Catharsis actually says something I forgot about. The most fucked up movie I've ever seen on Netflix is a movie called Tall Girl. Have any of y'all seen this movie?
I know Tall Girl 2 is out because that's what keeps appearing on Netflix now.
Yes.
That's all I
But
know.
no, Tall Girl 1, like, essentially is about this girl who's like, she feels insecure about her being tall. She wants to find somebody that likes her. And this guy that likes her, is she's like kind of just curving. Like, she's like, nah, like, I want somebody else. But it's like,
Is he short? Is that why?
he's shorter
Is
than her.
he under 5'7"?
I don't think he's
is
under 5'6". He's not 5. She's like, I think she's like 6'3". She's pretty tall.
That's fine. I like my big mommy giantess to step on me. So
Me too.
What is it? The lady? What's the girl?
Lady
what's the lady from-
Dimaristu or whatever.
Yeah.
That's how you need your woman?
Dimitrescu.
Dimitrescu. You know, it's
Oh.
yeah.
Whether you're tall or you're short, you can be a fan of the Dukes of Gaming.
You all have human rights here.
You have human rights here. Join us in chat. Post in the chat. We answer questions live. We do this every single Saturday. This has been the Dukes of Game podcast. Watch us on YouTube. Watch us live on Twitch. Listen to us on all your favorite podcast services around the whole globe. And we'll be coming at you next week with some fresh takes. We
No rights for men.
I don't know why Ben lost his rights, but you know, it is what
He's
it
too
is.
tall. He's too tall.
He
So
knows
we're gonna
what he did.
we're in the eye of the gaming hurricane. So come if you want to get your thoughts on hear your thoughts on the best gaming news, come here to the Dukes of Gaming. We'll see you next week. I bid thee
Hey,
farewell.
Elden
Oh,
Ring launch party.
yes.
Be there.
So
Hell
Thursday
yeah.
night,
Hell yeah.
midnight.
I'll be there to hate.
Yep.
So will Alfredo, maybe. I don't know.
Hey, I'm playing the game. I'm
All
playing.
right, so I'll be there to hate. Everybody else will be loving it. So join us for that. And if that's all that needs to be said, I bid everybody farewell.